Hey, everybody, I'm Ron Johnson, and this is Locked On Sports Minnesota, a Locked On podcast network, and it's Friday. So you know what that means? It's time for the Roundtable. Got the whole cast of people, but we did sub Reggie out today. We brought in Luke Inman because when the score is up big, take your quarterback out. So we had to take Reggie out a little bit. You take one of your receivers out the game. We took Luke out the game. He's sitting on the sideline now with Odell Beckham. So we got Luke Inman in there. We got Sam Ekstrom joining us. Of course, you know, he's a St. Thomas, just everything hockey guy, so he's on the road. And then we got Julia Daniels joining us from Kare 11. No, that's not the TikTok star. That's Julia Daniels from Kare 11. And, of course, I'm Ron Johnson, former Gophers and NFL wide receiver. Minnesota sports right now, I do understand the Minnesota Vikings still have a chance to go to the playoff, as well as the Packers are going to play on New Year's. But the Timberwolves are doing well. The Wild are doing well. The Gophers just won their 7th straight bowl game. There's so much sports to talk about. So what are we going to lock in on today? What you got for us, Luke?
Yeah, Ron, let's talk about the Vikes pack, the path to victory this week in a must-win game for both teams.
And how about the Red Hot Wild, the hottest team in hockey under their new head coach? But are they a playoff team?
And the Wolves have yet to lose consecutive games in a row, beating teams they probably would have lost to last year. We'll talk about it.
And when we're talking about quarterback play in Minnesota, I mean, come on now. This is the state of the quarterback. You got Kirk Cousins. You got Ethan Kelly, Max Chicken Jansky. Hey, Joe Flacco, though, he wanted to come to Minnesota, allegedly. But should the Minnesota Vikings have looked at Joe Flacco, or are we okay with this quarterback carousel that's been going on? We'll talk about that, all that and much more coming up next. But I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150, people. If your team wins, just visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started and stick around because we're going to have some locks for you today that you might want to put $5 on. Take advantage of that $150. Trust me, we're going to have some stuff that might help you win in this upcoming $150 for the new year. Imagine starting the new year, people, with $150 of somebody else's money. I would do it. But it's time to get started, people. So, Luke, start us off.
Yeah, guys, Vikes packed this week, obviously, at the bank. Huge game for both these teams, playoffs on the line. I want to know what you guys think is the path to victory in this one, because for me, listen, this doesn't always need to be that complex or exotic. We don't always have to get into all the analytics and all that to know the Vikings' number one problem this season by far and away has been just their inability to hold on to the football. That's it. 31st in the league in turnovers this year. And I think if they were even 25th or 20th in the league instead of almost dead last, they might be a double-digit win team right now. That's how good they've played in every other facet of these games. And you don't need to be an expert to know they outplayed the Detroit Lions last week. They deserved to win that game, but they shot themselves in the foot again and lost the turnover battle. You look at the last 4 losses: Broncos, Bears, Bengals, Lions. 4 losses combined, 12 points. That is absolutely insane. And you look at the 13 turnovers in those games, it's just gut-wrenching for fans to know these are self-inflicted wounds turning wins into losses like they've done all season long. So it's not a question of talent, guys. It's not a question of a team not playing together or losing their swag or mojo. It's a team that's good enough to win every single week, no matter the opponent, if they can just hold on to the ball. KOC still 17-0. 17-0 when the Vikings just don't lose the turnover battle. Now it's Jaren Hall's turn to come in, show everyone he can do what Dobbs and Mullins couldn't. The small sample size was enough for me. I don't think the game's too big for him. It's not your typical 20, 21-year-old rookie. This guy's 25 years old. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He just needs to play within the offense and let the playmakers like JJ go do the heavy lifting for him. What do you guys think?
Sam.
Yeah, so it's December, guys. It's not February. Valentine's Day is nowhere in sight. What I mean by that is Carrington Valentine is probably going to play a big role in this game. Jair Alexander is suspended. Carrington Valentine is a 7th-round rookie and has been pretty good for a 7th-round rookie. But if they are tempted to man him up with Justin Jefferson and try to press him with Carrington Valentine, Justin Jefferson is going to have a field day. And if it's not him, it's going to be Eric Stokes, who's been injured all year. This is just his 3rd game back from a hamstring injury. I think the Vikings could feast on a banged-up secondary. Usually when teams shut Justin Jefferson down, they have to do it with a lot of help, a lot of doubles. So if they do that, you got to find ways to exploit them with KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell. You don't have all your weapons in this game, but I still think that secondary is susceptible.
Julia.
Where's our confidence in Ty Chandler, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all the guys on the team have been gloating on Ty Chandler for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I would like to see a little more confidence from his play caller in his ability and his explosiveness. I mean, he's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. Alex Madison's averaging 3.9. I just would like to see them get the run game going, especially when you have your rookie backup quarterback in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Ty Chandler will be and could be potentially, if they would play him a little more, a key to success for them. Also, Jaren, I mean, Jaren's got legs on him too. I saw a tweet the other day and it was like, look at the legs on this guy. He's built. He can run as well. So I think number one, like you said, Luke, it's keeping the turnovers to a minimum. But also, I'd like to see the run game get going even more so, and I would really like to see Ty Chandler too. Along with that, I mean, JJ has a lot of opportunity to just like have a career game against these guys. But it'll be interesting to see how much they have Jaren doing. I told you guys I sat down with Christian Darrisaw, and he said the same thing that Justin Jefferson had been saying all week, is that they're going to have confidence in Jaren back there. But when JJ was talking, nobody knew who was going to be the starting quarterback. But I did ask Christian Darrisaw something about Jaren, and I said, what makes him stand out as a rookie quarterback? And he said, like you guys said, when he goes on the field, he looks like he's been out there before. And I think it has something to do with the fact that he's an older rookie in the league. But he said he's just so calm all the time. So I'm excited to see what Jaren can do on Sunday. I mean, he had 101 yards on 2 possessions in the only start that he got all season in Atlanta before he got that concussion. So I think we have a lot to look forward to with him. But I really, really want to see more Ty Chandler. I want them to, have him running risky plays, things like that. I would like to see that a little bit more.
So for me, I'm going to go with just the first quarter. When you think about the Packers game and how they lost to the Lions, when you think about the Packers game, in some of these early games, it's always that first quarter. If you can get out the first quarter unscathed, you can do well. So I think it's both. I think Brian Flores. So Jordan Love, I'm going to take a different approach. Jordan Love, when you watch him, so I'm breaking down some Jordan Love film, and I got 6 plays. I call it show some love or you get no love. And when in the show love segment, I got 3 solid plays of this guy making, I'm talking about a throw of 27 air yards, a throw of 31 air yards, and another throw of 29 air yards. And this is a dig route, out route, and a corner route. An over route, out route, and a dig route. So these are timing routes, stepping on that 5th step and letting the ball go as soon as it's time to let it go, reading the defense perfectly. When you give this guy that opportunity, he's good. When you rush for drop 8, he still kind of figures it out. His biggest issue is when you confuse him with the blitz, and maybe it's unorthodox because you saw the Raiders do it, which I don't think the Raiders meant to do what they did. I think Spillane was just like, because 2 dudes were standing in the same spot. And I'm like, I just think Spillane was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, so I'm going to just come follow you. And the ball comes right to him, interception. You look at the 2 deep ball interception he threw. One was the Chiefs and one was the Bucks. He just threw it up for whoever wanted it. Also the Giants. Raiders, Giants, Saints. That was the one. The Chiefs, Lions, Bucks were the good plays. But then the Raiders, Giants, Saints. Raiders, like I said, I told you what Spillane did. The other 2 just threw it up. Safety was just standing there like, oh, appreciate it, Santa. And so if Brian Flores can get those safeties to confuse him, because he has 3. So it's not easy to figure out if it's cover 2, 4, 3, man, blitz, whatever. You can make him go after, because when he has a special play or a trick play, he stares down the receiver that he's supposed to throw to on the double move, and he just lets it fly. And sometimes it works out. Against the Lions, first play of the game, it worked out. It was an underthrown ball. Christian Watson came back to it. It should have been a pick. I don't know what the safety was doing. I wish he would have played that way against the Vikings, but the safety had no idea what he should do with the ball. He was like looking like, oh, should I pick this off? No, I'm going to just stand here and jump as high as I can at the last minute and miss it. And so Christian Watson makes the play. Other than that, the other two were interceptions, Giants and Saints. Same type of play, deep ball, literally not even nowhere near the receiver, just went straight to the safety. So I think Brian Flores, in order to win this game, Brian Flores has to find a way to turn Jordan Love over early. And then once he does it once, he's susceptible to multiple. He threw 3 in a game, he threw 2 in a game, and then he went on a streak of 5 straight games with a pick. So he's willing, and the end of that 5th one was actually the Vikings. He's willing and by the way, that wasn't a bad play. That was just Josh Metellus making a heck of a play. But that's what I think it has to happen. Oh, shoot. Oh, there it is. Sorry. And that's what I think has to happen. You have to be able to turn Brian Flores has to turn him over, and vice versa for the Vikings. I think Luke said, I think Julia said it too. It's turnovers in the first quarter. The Vikings turnover 4.4% in the first quarter. That's 32nd in the NFL. 4.4% of their plays in the first quarter are turnovers. They can't do that. They're leading the NFL right there in that. They have 30 giveaways as an offense. Don't do that, and you probably win this game. And then you have a chance to go to the playoffs if you beat the Lions with Jaren Hall. So we'll see what that's going to look like. Next, of course, I have to pay it off. We got the FanDuel locks coming up, people. I'm not gonna let you guys off easy. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna pay off the tees with these FanDuel locks. But Joe Flacco has thrown touchdowns in 5 games. He's thrown 4 games of 300 yards. He did go to sleep, but I would have went to sleep too if I was at the Jets game. He went to sleep in the 4th quarter because they took him out. Which he's also old. It's also a night game. He's probably like, man, this is my bedtime. And he was nodding off like somebody's grandma after Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. So when you think about what's going on with Joe Flacco, and then you look at Jaren Hall, you look at Josh Dobbs, you look at Nick Mullins even, what are your thoughts on the quarterback situation? Would you have gone after Joe Flacco and then had him as a placeholder for Kirk Cousins maybe, and then bring him back for the next year? I mean, he looks good right now. He's slinging the ball. He looks way more comfortable because he's playing with house money. Like, I don't care if I suck. Y'all need me. I don't need you. What do you think, Julia?
I mean, let's not act like we all expected Joe Flacco to come in and do this, right? Obviously, as Reggie would say, it's a revelation in Cleveland to have a guy like Joe Flacco come in at 38 and do this. We don't even know if the rumors are true about the Vikings, and the Vikings didn't want him and this, that, and the other. It's just one of those things where it's all a gamble, you know? I don't think the Browns were like, yeah, Joe Flacco is going to come in and do something we haven't seen since the 90s. I don't think that was their thought process when they brought him in. Yes, did it happen? For sure, but 38. The only thing that this tells me is that, like, man, you could just do anything at any age nowadays, which is inspiring, I think. But when it comes to should the Vikings have done this or that or the other, it's hard to say just because, you know, the reason it is such big news is because no one expected this to happen. Would it have been cool to have happened here? Obviously. Would he have just this huge artillery of offensive weapons? For sure. So it could very likely have happened just because it's happening in Cleveland too. But yeah, it's hard to speculate on that one. But it is really cool to see him doing something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Julia. Always easy to say now in hindsight, now that he's balling out, but let's not forget he's a guy who was sitting at home in free agency for the last 10 months for a reason, right? He didn't look anything special towards the end, that final year or two, but sometimes you get the perfect situation for a veteran quarterback to come in and run the show. And think about it. He gets the number 1 defense in the NFL, so he doesn't need to do anything more than just take what the other defense gives him, just not turn the ball over. They're more than happy to win games 17-10 every week if they have to. He's got a great running game design with Stefanski drawing up those plays. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, they're more than enough. David Njoku, and maybe most importantly, a great offensive line to let him stand in the pocket, make some good decisions. So it's a fun story. As much as it's easy to sit here now and say the Vikes should have pulled the trigger on him when they had a chance, I, for one, think between Mullins, Hall, and Dobbs getting him after the trade deadline, that room was already crowded enough. You had a little bit of everything in that room, too, between the gunslinger, a mobile dual threat, and a rookie you're trying to develop. And as much as we harp on all these turnovers, let's not forget, it hasn't always been just the quarterback. Alexander Madison multiple times this year. Josh Oliver on the opening drive versus Kansas City. Justin Jefferson in Philly through the back of the end zone. The quarterback is definitely at fault this year, but there was still fumbles fumbling problems even outside of that. And as much as Flacco maybe could have helped this year, I still don't think you're going into Dallas or into San Fran or into Philly and beating some of the best teams in the NFC. So getting a good look at Jaren Hall to end the year, I think actually helps them more in the long term, just having a better grasp of the quarterback room before they head into the offseason and know whether or not they need to go draft a first-round quarterback or if they want to bring back Kirk Cousins and run it back for another year or two. But you wouldn't be able to fairly assess the situation unless you got all these guys some starting some of these football games.
Sam.
Yeah, and just to add to Julie and Luke's point, too, 5 seasons prior to this, Joe Flacco, 26 starts, 7-19 record. So it's not like the evidence suggested he was going to do this. And also, you got to back up the decisions you've made, right? The Vikings signed their veteran backup. That was Nick Mullins to a 2-year deal, not even a 1-year deal. And they knew he was coming back soon. So they did trade for Dobbs as an emergency backup when Mullins was hurt. But I don't think they felt like they needed that splash. They had a rookie in the building and they had a veteran in the building. So they really had what they needed. It was just too full of a room. So I don't know if it was ever realistic to say that there was steam between those two sides. Maybe Flacco thought there was, but I don't know if the Vikings ever seriously considered that.
Yeah, and it's funny, hindsight, and I love how Julia said that hindsight is 2020, because if you were to actually look at as stats, he was with the Jets for 2020 to 2022. He was not good. He threw for 864 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The next year, 1 game, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So there's the magic. You're like, okay, let's bring him back. The next year, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 2022, which is the main reason why they said we can't keep doing this. We have Zach Wilson, but then we got to play Flacco. We have this guy, then we got to play Flacco. It's like we have Flacco, and then we got to play somebody else. Let's go get Aaron Rodgers. Now, I do understand the people saying, man, I wish they would have just bought him back, because the team that Aaron Rodgers put together with the Jets probably is a little bit better overall when you add all these other little weapons that Aaron Rodgers likes. You add all these little pieces. The defense got better and better and better every year. I get what they're saying, but Joe Flacco, again, this is the thing. I don't know if any other coordinator could have got out of Flacco what Kevin Stefanski is getting out of him. Kevin Stefanski with Kirk Cousins had one of the best seasons, or, statistically what Kirk Cousins was doing as far as getting out the pocket, moving, looking mobile. Kevin Stefanski and his ability to call plays is ridiculously mind-numbing with all the shifts and motions. People love to talk about what's his name for the 49ers, Shanahan. But they don't talk about Stefanski does similar things to get guys wide open. Also, some of the throws, I don't know if you guys saw some of the Amari Cooper highlights and Joe Flacco highlights on Twitter. Some of those balls should have been intercepted. Like, let's be real. Some of those were like, there's angels in the end zone for the Browns. Maybe that would be angels in the infield or angels in the end zone. Like we had angels in the outfield for baseball. Now we got angels in the end zone, because some of those passes like literally are heading towards a defender, and then they just go right through his hands and right to Amari Cooper. And you're like, and then everybody misses the tackle all of a sudden. Like everybody just falls like bowling pins, and Amari Cooper goes running down the sideline. It's like, how? There was 3 guys standing there. How did none of y'all think to tackle him? Everybody's like, okay, we got this. Okay, nobody picked it off. Wait, who's going to tackle him? You should tackle him. Like, so it feels a little weird to me. Like maybe Joe Flacco has an angel on his shoulder, and maybe this will be a story we'll hear about later. But this is why the NFL is fun, because you have these stories pop up all the time. As far as steam for the Vikings, again, I don't know if he fits what the Vikings need to do, like with everything. And also how much money he was asking for too. That's the other question. How much money was he asking to play as a free agent? We know Cam Newton was like, I'm not playing for $5 million. I can sit here and do what I want to do. $5 million ain't enough for me. So who knows? Like, I mean, I haven't even looked at what Joe Flacco got paid, but who knows what he actually was asking for with the Vikings when you think about his ability to kind of call his own shot and go to the team he wants to as a free agent. But people are like, oh yeah. No, I don't truly believe, like, if I'm just to say Joe Flacco wanted to play for the Vikings is like saying that everybody at home wants to play for the Vikings. Everybody not playing football wants to play for somebody with hurt quarterbacks. That's not steam. That's just reality of life. Now, if Kevin O'Connell were to come out and say like, yeah, we didn't want Joe, there's no actual thought process in that to say they don't want Joe Flacco. But trust me, I will ask one of the scouts, because I'm probably going to see him on Sunday night, and I for sure will get that side of it. But again, It's time to pay you guys off. The money line bet time, FanDuel, supporter, sponsor of the show. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, so we gotta help you out if you're a newcomer to FanDuel, and if you're like if you're on the edge and you're like teetering and like, I don't want to do it, let me drive to Iowa. Just go drive to Iowa, people. It's New Year's weekend. Drive to Iowa, go to Diamond Joe's or right across the border. As soon as you see that sign that says, thank you for coming to Minnesota, you stop right there. Just pull over. I guarantee it'll work from there. You can make your little bet, and we're going to give you some takes. So I'm going to start off with you, Sam. What's your FanDuel lock?
All right, I'm going to give you guys something that is so far off the beaten path. It can only work. This is definitely going to work. So if you scroll in the depths of FanDuel, you find the opening kickoff prop. Fair catch or touchback, or no fair catch or touchback. No fair catch or touchback pays plus 250 on this game. You know, in today's NFL, you see a lot of touchbacks, right? It's the play that doesn't mean anything. But I have steam on this. The first time these teams played, Greg Joseph and Matt Daniels dared the Packers to return the kick. They kicked it short of the end zone, and it worked. Packers got stuck at the 19-yard line, so they could try that again. They also did that in the Raiders game, kicked it short of the end zone, begged them to bring it out. In the last 3 games, the Packers have either returned the kick or kicked it short of the goal line themselves if they're the ones kicking off. So I think at plus 250, you can make plus money on something that you don't see very often, which is a kick return in the NFL. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay. Julia, what you got?
I love the chaos.
I love it.
I'm going with to score first and lose. And I'm going with the Packers on this one. Plus 340. I can just see the air getting sucked out of US Bank Stadium on this. Everything's going to be so hyped pregame, right? Prime time, New Year's Eve. It's going to be crazy. And then I can just see like the vibes. Like, ooh, when the Packers score right off the bat. And then things will pick up again. I feel like that's happened every single time that I've been there for a game this year. It's just like everyone's so excited because obviously they do such a good job with, you know, the pregame and it's such a great stadium. And then it's like, oh, and then things pick up again. So I'm going to go with Packers score first, but end up losing the game.
Heading into last week, Bryce Young averaging 180 yards passing per game. He hadn't thrown for 200 yards in 7 straight games. Think about that. In today's pass-happy NFL, throwing for under 200 yards in 7 straight weeks, almost impossible. I mean, we've seen backups throw for 300 all season long. Then Bryce Young gets the Packers defense, throws for his first 300-yard game of his career. 14 games it took. That's how bad this Packers defense is right now. And by the way, that was with the top 5 corner, Jair Alexander. He won't be playing. Talent-wise, they'll be even worse off with Valentine, who Sam mentioned earlier. So if you can't stop the Panthers, you can't stop anybody. Joe Barry, he's going to be fired the minute the season ends. His walking papers are already signed, sealed, and delivered. He's checked out. I expect points on both sides of the ball, even with the new quarterback, no TJ Hawkinson. Jaren Hall moved the ball well, I thought, in that small sample size we got. This Flores defense has been deflating all of a sudden these last 2 weeks. 57 points, almost 800 yards versus the Bengals and Lions. Plus, Jordan Love's been actually really solid versus the Blitz the last 7 weeks. So 2 teams fight for a playoff spot. I think both teams ready to throw the kitchen sink at one another. That means aggressive calls, 4th down tries, high volatile play calling and execution on both sides. Love the over 43.5 this week in the Dome. Forget about the cold weather, snow, rain, sleet, who cares? Playing at the bank. Vikes have played in back-to-back games where the over is hit in that Bengal and Lion games. Check this out. Packers, on the other hand, have played in 5 straight games where the over has hit. Both defenses are lost right now. Smash that 43.5 and bring in the new year on a high note with an easy victory. Trust me. What can go wrong?
So I'm going to just go off this rookie. Jaren, or not. Yeah, he is a rookie. Jaren Hall. Here's 2. Vikings win by 1 to 13 points. That pays out plus 140. I think the Vikings do win this one between 1 and 13 points. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Last time they played the Packers, they beat them by 14. I don't think that happens this time. Jordan Love and Jaren Hall. So Jordan Love has been playing better. But then also first drive parlay add another 240 to that. So plus 380. Vikings and Packers both punt on their first drive, but the Vikings win by 1 to 13 points. I think that's going to do it. I think Jordan Love to start out the game is going to be kind of like iffy. It's New Year's. It's going to be loud. Wisconsin fans. I don't know if you guys saw that. The top 13 drunkest states in the country, like 9 or 10 of them were Wisconsin. And I think the other 3 were North Dakota / Minnesota. Like, I don't know why you put us in that with Fargo. Like, we're not, I guess they're saying Fargo. Is there Fargo in Minnesota?
Fargo Moorhead is kind of leaking over across the border.
And that's been okay. So I was wondering because they put like Fargo, North Dakota / Minnesota. And I'm like, why y'all going? I was like the 50 Cent meme. Like, I don't know if you saw that. Like, we talked about Floyd Mayweather. He's like, woke up like, what did he say F me for? What I do? What I got to do with this?
50.
Like, that's my favorite one because 50 Cent really was shocked. He like woke up like, what did he say? What did he say forgive me for? What I do? Why am I in this? And that's what I'm like. I looked at that like it should have been always because it's basically all Wisconsin technically, and then it's all North Dakota. But for all the North Dakotas, they put / Minnesotans. So I'm guessing they're saying we're close enough to some of these locations like Fargo and whatever. But yeah, all like 10 of them were Wisconsin. And so you give them a reason to get drunk. They don't have to go to work, and it's New Year's, and they could possibly still go to the playoffs, and it's Vikings, Packers, and it's Mall of America. Like, okay, you really just want to see chaos happen in downtown when that ball drops because you're letting these people drink for 3.5 hours, and then you're going to send them out into our streets of Minnesota. Thank you, NFL. You should have flexed this game to noon, by the way. I would have loved you for that. I would have appreciated that, Mr. Goodell. Next time I see you, I see you every year. We get to take a picture. We talk. You know, we converse. You ask me how my health is doing. I'm going to tell you, like, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy that I have to do the fan line with a bunch of drunk idiots late at night. Like, an hour and a half to 2 hours of drunk New Year's fans, either one, pissed off that the Vikings won because they want destruction, or pissed off that the Vikings lost. I think there's gonna be like 2 happy people. Everybody just wants to see mutual destruction. But if Jaren Hall goes out there and kills it, throws for 350 yards, I think that's the only way we get happy New Year's people of like, it's the Jaren Hall show. Forget Kirk Cousins. Let's move on to Jaren Hall. It's the Stormin' Mormon. I think I saw one of you guys tweet that. Or no, that was Luke. That was Luke Bryan. So
yeah, that's right.
The Stormin' Mormon. So yeah, like I'm not happy about it. But you know what? Let's talk about some good sports right now. The Timberwolves are 23-7. They have less losses than the Minnesota Vikings, but also the Celtics have less losses than the Patriots. And there was one more. The Bucks have the same amount of losses as the Packers. So for whoever tried to make the Vikings football and correlate to Timberwolves, there's 3 other teams out there like that. The Pistons also have enough losses for everybody in the NFL right now. They suck. They were up 19 at the half to the Celtics. The spread was -17, people. So people thought like, the Pistons might actually blow this and not cover. No, don't worry. It's the Pistons. They lost in overtime. They covered. So if you did bet on the Pistons to cover, they did. -17, and they're still in there. Unless they would have gotten blown out by the Celtics, but they at least held on and covered. So if you put the Pistons to cover, you're good. But now it's time for a word from our sponsors.
Thanks, Ron. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you're getting $150 in bonus bets when you win any $5 money line wager. That's $150 in bonus bets when you throw down and win just $5 on any money line wager. Personally, I think the 49ers are a lock this week versus the Cardinals. Throw down $5 on them to win and get $150 in bonus bets back. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on all the action. The app, it's so easy to use, and they got everything you need. Seriously, money lines, parlays, prop bets, you name it, they got it. FanDuel's got everything you need to bet on the entire NFL season, and it's by far the easiest and simplest betting app to use. Go check it out for yourself. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon today. America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
And now it's time for us to talk about the Timberwolves. Julia, take it away.
Well, I was just scrolling Twitter to try and find, like, somebody wore a shirt to the Pistons game last night that said, like, I traveled from someplace just to see the Pistons lose 28 in a row. But all the Twitter timeline is the Pistons might solve the NBA viewership problem because people just want to see this streak continue, which I think is so funny. But
I watched. I don't watch any games besides the Wolves, except I did tune in at the end last night because I was so intrigued.
Yeah,
it was great. I'm locked into this losing streak.
I kept walking in and out of the sports office, and every time I came back, it was something else was happening in that game. It's like, what, now we're in overtime? What is happening right now? Anyways, let's talk about the best team in the NBA. The Wolves beat the Mavs last night. Something we've been talking about since the season started. Luka was out. They should have won that game. They did win the game. However, not their cleanest win. 22 turnovers in the entire game, 15 of those in the first half. Cat only had 10. What is he? 3 for 12 shooting. So not his best performance, but Anthony Edwards just drowned all of their problems out because he had 44 points, 6 threes, and Rudy had a double-double last night. So solid stuff for the Timberwolves, but their defense is just it's got to be better than what it was last night and on Monday or Tuesday when they played the Thunder, because that was a tragic loss. But they still yet to lose consecutive games in a row. Granted, every single time I think that they've played a game after a loss, the team that they're playing is missing one of their big stars. So that's also an interesting take too. But yeah, Wolves Mavs, they won the game that they should have won, which is something that they might not have done last year. But Anthony Edwards, I think what we've been talking about is the honesty from the coaching staff towards guys like Anthony Edwards, Cat, and Rudy. They're being extra honest with these guys. And Ant said it in his post game yesterday that Finchy talked to him after the Thunder game and said, you've got to do this, that, and this. And he took it personal. And he put up 44. So, yeah, a game they should have won and a game that they did win.
Sam, the Timberwolves, 23-7. Like I'm seeing all these tweets now about they've been this since, this never happened since November. This never happened since December. This never happened since we're going to come up on this January 1, I'm pretty sure. What are your thoughts on the Timberwolves?
Yeah, well, I love Chris Finch's expectations right now because he's not settling for just beating a team that didn't have its two biggest stars. He called out the offense last night. Offense is 17th in the league. It's worse than most other playoff teams. He said they were selfish, they were immature, that guys were throwing a pity party for themselves because they weren't getting shots. Ball movement wasn't great. And I love that he's setting the bar high even in victory. I sense there's a little bit of a lull right now. Wolves are on such a roll. They're in this gauntlet, 16 games in a row against 500 teams or playoff teams. They're 6-3 in that gauntlet. And I think the toughest stretch is still to come. January starts with road games against the Knicks, Rockets, Mavs, Magic, Celtics. If they can go 4-3 in the next 7, that's a great stretch to keep your head above water. Denver's coming in like a freight train. They've now matched the Wolves with 23 wins. They've got 10 losses, 3 more than the Wolves. But to hang on to the West lead, you got to tighten things up. And that starts offensively, better ball movement, better efficiency. And that means, Cat, Ant, you can't always get your shot. Got to move the ball within the flow of the offense. And I like that Chris Finch is calling it out.
Hello.
Yeah, we hopped on the Locked On Wolves postcast last night after the game, and I'd say roughly 80% of the comment section wanted to talk about how this was a game that the Wolves lose last year. Tough to argue with, right? Last year they found a way to lose games they had no business losing. 5-10 record versus the bottom 5 teams in the league. Julia touched on it. Offensive efficiency through the roof. You go into halftime though, only up 5. The turnovers were brutal, slightly concerning. Didn't love that. You just let Dallas, a team down their 2 best players and coming off a back-to-back, no less, a tough loss versus Cleveland. You let them hang around. You give them too much energy. Slightly concerning. We've seen that a lot this year. But second half, they cut down on the turnovers, stiffen up on defense. They keep shooting with a high efficiency. And Ant Edwards, man, 44 points, puts the team on his back. He's averaging 30 points per game in his last 7 games now. The big catalyst is he's finding ways to get to the line more. And that was one of the tiny blemishes to his game. He's kind of started to clean up. And you're watching a great player turn into a potential superstar now these last 2 weeks. So they're winning games they're supposed to now this year, 13-1 at home this year. And maybe most impressively, they've done such a great job bouncing back after tough outings. You think about how brutal that game looked Tuesday night versus OKC. And again, Julia mentioned this, especially on defense, 5th longest streak without losing 2 in a row in the NBA. That streak's up to 30 games now after last night. Again, shaking off a really tough loss versus OKC. So this is what good teams do, guys. They beat the teams you're supposed to. They protect their home court, and you don't let one loss turn into 3, 4, 5, 6. And Sam mentioned that gauntlet of a schedule coming up. Super brutal schedule. I think you're happy if you can go 500 these next 7, 8 games. That's how tough it is. But I guarantee you, each one of those teams is also thinking, oh, man, we got the Wolves tonight. That's a tough matchup, too, on paper, because they've solidified, I think, just how dominant they've been all year. And it's just been a lot of fun to watch, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I'm not taking anything away from the Timberwolves. I know they didn't face Kyrie. They didn't face Luka Doncic, but they still handled their business. Anthony Edwards, 44 points. I don't know if you saw his turnaround, kind of like people are like, oh, did he travel? That foot kind of
shoulder.
Yeah, the foot kind of moved a little bit. It did. It like, if you could slow it down and you were able to go into the hood and they were to challenge that, you might say he moved that foot. But the fact that he is coming up with new ways to score, new ways to create separation, you see the elevation. Not gonna lie, I ordered a pair of AE1s. Like I hopefully they'll be here maybe before New Year's, but I ordered a pair of AE1s. I'm looking forward to when the Minnesota editions launch, that blue black. I did do the peach ones just to do it to see how they feel. I'm gonna see how I play. Like if I wear them in a gym and all of a sudden I hit 40, I'm for sure letting y'all know. Like because it's got like what they used to say about Michael Jordan, it's the shoes. Like it's got to be the shoes. Like the dude is just. I mean, come on now. And so Anthony Edwards is a star, 44 points. Karl-Anthony Towns on a shorter night didn't do as much. Rudy Gobert gives you 20. Like this team is just finding ways to win. And I think that's the key. Like it doesn't have to always be Cat. It doesn't always have to be Rudy. It hadn't always been Anthony Edwards because he was hurt. It also the gritty toughness of Anthony Edwards. Like he had the bad hip. People were like, oh, we're cursed. We're diseased. This team is not going to fall apart. They didn't fall apart. They kept winning. And then Anthony Edwards just played his role, came in when he could, got rest, came in when he could. And now look at him. He's back. He's back and he's healthy. He's going to be a for sure all-star this year. One of my guess is one of the guys people want to see when you talk about the dunks and everything else. This team is special. And, I don't know how long it's going to take Minnesota fans to get on board with it and really just maybe when the Vikings season officially ends, people will finally just say, you know what, I'm going to spend some money and go to the Timberwolves games. But Minnesota sports, man, like I said, I joked around that they sacrificed the Wild so that they can get a good Timberwolves team. But I feel kind of bad now because now the Wild, after their sacrifice. So if you guys are Jim Carrey fans and you've seen when he had to fight Tommy Davis in that Animal, which one was that one? Which Jim Carrey movie was that?
Tommy Davis.
Pet Detective. Start off with Pet Detective. Yeah, Ace Ventura. When he was in Africa, then they were like, you got to fight him. And then all of a sudden it was Tommy Davis and came out of like a little backpack. And he's like, oh, I got to fight him. And then of course he threw the spear, hit him in the leg and blah, blah, But that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like the Wild did that with Dean Evison. Like they sacrificed him. Like, all right, let's put this dude on a sacrificial like Jim Carrey movie. We're gonna kill him off. We're gonna see him still alive though, because all Jim Carrey movies are hilarious when people die. But we're gonna kill him off in a Jim Carrey fashion. We're gonna let the world see it, humiliation, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna get some random coach. He's been a player though. He's been a player. And we're gonna just start winning again. So we gotta start off bad just to let the Timberwolves get going, and then we'll pick it back up secretly when people aren't paying attention. Because I feel like people stopped paying attention for a little bit. People stopped talking about Kirill Kaprizov, and now you got Brock Faber, and everybody's talking about this young rookie now, and that he could be one of the best, and blah blah. Sam, tell us about the Wild, man. I know you're a big time hockey guy.
Yeah, so you're right. The Wild, they sacrificed their coach. They've got unrest in the front office. And this new coach, all he does is win. They're 11-3 with John Hines. But are they a playoff team? Because, guys, 11-3, and they're still not in the playoff picture. Have they emptied the clip? can they sustain this? Because the floor of the Western Conference is higher this year. I mean, the Central is loaded. It's unlikely they're going to be a top 3 seed in the Central. In fact, they're 5th right now. Some of the putrid teams in the West, the Blackhawks are a little bit better. They've got Connor Bedard. The Ducks are a little bit better. The Sharks maybe aren't as putrid, although they've been playing really badly lately. It's going to be hard for the Wild to keep this up. However, they do have history in their favor. The last 2 times they've made a mid-season coaching change, they've made the playoffs. And I think that can continue this year if they keep playing the way they are. Defensively, Faber has been so good. Matt Boldy's come alive. Kaprizov has come alive. Everything is coming together right now for the Wild, but it's going to be an uphill battle because they played this well, still aren't in the playoff picture. You got to sustain this now for another couple months because they got off to such a rocky start. I think they squeak in as a wild card team.
Julia.
Yeah, I would agree. Just such a hole to dig out of, right? I mean, it took them so long to get above 500, but they're playing this well and they're not full strength yet. So that's also something that we have to take into account too. Jared Spurgeon could be back tomorrow. I think we'll find out today if he's back. I know he participated in the full session yesterday, and Hines said that would be a decision that would be made today. But yeah, it's something to say that Brock has stepped up too in Jared Spurgeon's absence. I think he's averaging more minutes than he ever has before. But I think this Wild team, it's just there's potential for it, but the division is just so stacked, and they're still in the Central. I think they're second from the bottom still, even with this rip that they've been on. But we'll see what they do and how long they can keep doing this when they get all their guys back for sure. But it's still just one of those things we're going to have to wait and see. And we'll also have to wait and see if other teams can continue with what they've done so far this season. But I think we still got time to figure out whether they're a playoff team or not. But it is going to be a serious uphill battle, and they're going to have to keep some consistency with what they've done so far.
Yeah, this just might be an experimental season. Just keep throwing stuff at the wall like spaghetti, seeing if it sticks. And, I think this is built on next year. Honestly, I think that has to be the plan for them at this point, plan for next year. I don't see teams just continuing to drop. Now, again, 16-13, 21-11. There's a lot of hockey left, a ton of hockey left. Now, can he stay at this clip? And like Sam said, did he empty the clip? 11-3. Can he continue on this? 11-3, 11-3, 11-3, 11-3. If he does that, then they win. They are going to be there. But can he do that? Can they stay there? Can they stay healthy? Because Minnesota sports, that's the one thing that always happens. Somebody gets hurt, everybody cries. Julius having to explain to the world while Kirill Kaprizov is hurt, or somebody else is hurt, or Brock Faber now is hurt. But yeah, shout out to Brock Faber, man. I met him at the Vikings game. Honestly, had no idea who he was at first because he blows the gather horn and he kind of walks by us. And so, like I said, he had the glasses on, and I'm literally looking at somebody. I'm like, who is that guy? Who is this nerd? Who is this? And they're like, oh, that's the dude. That's Brock Faber. I'm like, oh, the Gopher. I'm like, oh, okay, man. Sky, you might row the boat. Go Gophers. So, he seemed like a cool kid. But it's funny now that the state of Minnesota has kind of embraced him too. I think they said Maple Grove kids. So always good to see, Minnesota kids be able to live their dream out. I'm pretty sure growing up, he was all about the Mighty Ducks as well. And now he's living it out for the Wild. But I just feel like the way hockey goes, you put yourself in a hole this early. Let's look for another draft pick. Who can your draft pick be to help you out? Is there somebody in the draft you can tank for? I don't know if there is. Sam probably can give us a little bit on that. But people, it's Christmas. Well, 3 or 4 days. And by the way, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but after Christmas to New Year's, it's the weirdest week. I don't know if I should work. I don't know if I should wake my kids up or if they should be able to sleep in. I don't know if they're supposed to do anything. It's just super weird. It is the weirdest time. I don't know if I should start drinking at 10 a.m. I just really don't know. What is okay to do? It's just what should I be doing right now? And it's very weird. So I think I'm going to go play basketball today just to feel a sense of normalcy again, of being out in the world. But when you drive, I don't know if you guys have been out on the road in Minnesota, it's dead. There's no cars out in the morning. There's just the gym people. It's quiet on my street until about 2:00 in the afternoon. It's just super weird. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm in some type of weird movie. But really quick before we get out of here, SiriusXM is a proud partner of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Please make sure you guys go to SiriusXM on any app market. Just search SXM and you can download the app. You can get Locked On Sports Minnesota, all the shows, all the Wild, Vikings, Wolves, Wild, and Gophers content right there on your XM app. And then also, you can hook it up to your car as well. If you do not have SiriusXM, you just Bluetooth it through your phone, and now you have it SiriusXM in your car. Really quick before we get out of here, man, let's take 10 to 30 seconds. What's your New Year's sports resolution for Minnesota sports? I'll kick it off with you, Luke.
Yeah, it's time for the state of Minnesota to finally write their new chapter when it comes to the quarterback position. I'm talking about the Vikings and the Gophers. Max Brosmer, the new recruit from Arkansas, Drake Lindsay, gives them a little fresh start that they desperately needed. But you look at the Vikings, it's time to cash in on what looks like maybe the best quarterback draft class since 2017, guys. And whether you're staying put, 15 to 20 range, letting somebody like Michael Penix fall in your lap, or moving up into the top 10, going to get Jaden Daniels from LSU. Let KOC work his magic. This is why you hired him. Fix the quarterback position. Find your long-term franchise guy. It's time for both these teams to put this chapter to bed once and for all, turn the page, and find their new long-term solution and face of the franchise. So we're not sitting here next year, guys, and having the same conversation all over again.
Julia.
I'm going with the Lynx on this one. I can't wait to see what Diamond and Dorka do in their sophomore seasons with the Lynx. Also, Fee at the helm for her second year. I mean, we saw what Cheryl Reed was able to do with what did she call it? A rebuild year. They made the playoff in her rebuild year. Never doubt Cheryl Reed. I think she's getting her groove back. She's getting her team back. I think the Lynx are going to have their stuff together come this season. I'm excited to see what they do.
Sam.
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of Chris Finch's comments last night that I already touched on regarding the selfishness of the Timberwolves offense. I love Anthony Edwards, but the next time, Anthony, that you want to do the step back heat check three, don't. Just don't do it. You never make them. It lets the other team back in the game. Just stop. If you have the urge for a heat check, if you absolutely have to do something, drive to the rim. You're not that good of a shooter to do step back contested heat check threes. You're not Kobe yet. So stop it.
For me, I'm going to say for Gopher football fans, my resolution is for all you guys to stop hating. In 2024, let's leave the PJ Fleck hate back in 2023. Let's get through this season, see what happens with Max Brosmer. Let's see what these new recruits coming in. You got Coy Parrish. We'll see if he's going to come in and start right away alongside Darius Green. But let's just leave that. Let's let them cook. Let them build. Let's see what happens. We know the Big Ten is about to change, USC and UCLA, but let's start the season off on a positive note. Let's go into 2024 with no hate. I like this, just like the Hawk used to have days without hawking out. I think that was I forgot which guy played him in that one when he did it, but he had the days and it was 0 days without hawking out, or whatever, 300 whatever, or 400 whatever days, and all of a sudden he looks up, his eyes turn green, and it goes back to 0. Like, let's just go 365 days next year without hating on PJ Fleck, people. For 2024, that's my resolution. I hope for all of you. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Julia Daniels. That's Sam Ekstrom. That's Luke Inman. Please make sure you guys know, too, 24/7 Sports on YouTube. You can get Minnesota sports 24/7 on our Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. You just need an email address. Go on and subscribe. You get all of our shows, all of our content, and of course the postcast after every single game. What better time to sit back and have a drink and just watch us talk about the Vikings after the game? Make sure you guys check that out. I'm Ron Johnson. Julia Daniels signing off from Kare 11. We got Luke Spinman or Inman for those that know him. And, of course, Sam Ekstrom, the St. Thomas hockey voice. And we're thankful for all you guys. That's our thankfulness for Christmas. We're so thankful for all the listeners, the fans, and the people who continue to subscribe. Thank you guys and have a great weekend.